remember in part 1 of Joseph's story that he had fallen prey to another evil plot. The first time he was sold by his brothers as a slave and ended up in Egypt. The second evil plot was when he was lied about by his master's wife. So now Joseph was in prison by no fault of his own. How was he going to survive? An important phrase that comes up over and over again in Joseph's story is this one: the Lord was with Joseph and he prospered. Though Joseph had made some powerful enemies, the Lord was always with him and showing his love to him in so many ways. And because Joseph knew that this was true, even though he couldn't understand why God was allowing him to go through all these things in life, Joseph loved God back and served him with his whole heart. And this, more than any other reason, is why Joseph survived and thrived in the lemons of life. Joseph saw God's love even in the hardest times of life, in the way that the merchants came by at just the right time so that he was sold as a slave instead of being left to die in the well. He saw God's love in the way he was sold to a good master and not a cruel one. And the very fact that Joseph was in prison instead of being executed for the lie that Potiphar's wife told about him was evidence of God's love. Yes, even in prison, Joseph knew God was with him and loved him. And so Joseph gave himself to loving God back and serving others. And this was the very thing that set him apart in the eyes of the prison guards. Everything they gave him to do, he did with his whole heart. They saw, just as Potiphar had, that everything Joseph touched prospered. So it wasn't long before the prison guards entrusted Joseph with the care of the prison. Another way that God showed his love for Joseph was that he gave him a special gift, the ability to interpret dreams. This was hugely important in the time that Joseph lived. Ironically, this was the gift that caused his brothers to hate him so much all those years before. It wasn't the gift that angered the brothers, but a dream that Joseph had interpreted, which showed his brothers' bundles of grain bowing down to his bundle of grain. We'll soon find out whether that dream came true or not. So, anyway, God gave Joseph the ability to interpret dreams. One day, Joseph noticed that two of the prisoners, formerly the king's butler and baker, were sitting there very sad and upset. When Joseph asked them why they were sad, they said, "We both had dreams, but there's no one here to interpret them." Joseph answered, "Well, no one can interpret dreams except God, but tell me your dreams." Long story short, God showed Joseph the meaning of each of the dreams. And both of those dreams played out just like he said. As the butler was leaving prison, Joseph said to him, "Please remember me and show me kindness by mentioning me to the king, Pharaoh, so that I can get out of prison." The butler agreed, but when he returned to the king, he totally forgot about Joseph. For 2 years, the butler never gave another thought to Joseph. But one morning, the king woke up and was very upset because he had had a weird dream and didn't know its meaning. When the butler heard this, he immediately remembered Joseph and said, "When I was in prison, there was a prisoner there who was able to tell the meaning of the dreams, and it came out just like he said." Immediately, they sent for Joseph. "I hear you can interpret dreams," said the king to Joseph. "Oh, I can't," said Joseph, "but God can. Let the king tell me his dreams." So, King Pharaoh told two strange dreams. In my first dream, I saw 7 healthy cows come up from the Nile River, and then came 7 sickly cows who ate up fat ones. In the second dream, I saw 7 plump heads of grain on a stalk, and after them came 7 withered, wind-burned heads of grain that came up and ate 7 plump heads. Joseph told Pharaoh the meaning of the dreams, that God was revealing to the king an important thing that was about to happen. The meaning of the 2 dreams is actually one and the same, said Joseph. God is telling you that you will have 7 years of abundant harvest, and after that will come 7 years of severe famine. So now let the king find a discerning and wise man and put him in charge of preparing for the drought that's about to come. Well, Pharaoh looked at Joseph and said, well, who would be better at this than you? Joseph, I'm putting you in charge of the whole land of Egypt to prepare us so that we'll have enough food to eat until the time of the famine is over. Then the king took off his special ring and put it on Joseph's finger, giving him full authority over everyone in Egypt, except himself. The king had Joseph dressed in fine robes, gave him a chariot and an Egyptian wife, and an Egyptian name, Zaphenath-Paneah. We'll find out later the meaning of his new name. Boy, things were really taking shape in this story, and the fun is just beginning. So stay tuned for the next chapter of Joseph, the great lemonade maker.